How's it going? Adam Franklin here, just getting connected to the Facebook Live, and we are going to just wait here while we build up a little bit of an audience. It's saying my connection's weak, so hopefully it'll be strong enough to survive this Facebook Live. So my name's Adam Franklin, and I know a few Bluewire News readers will be tuning into today's session. We've got people starting to join us. Welcome. I am actually going to try and share this feed through to Web Marketing That Works private group and also my personal network as well. So just as we build up an audience. Hi Brad, how are you? I'm just going to log on to my laptop as well and try and share this to a few other groups. But you're in the right spot for my Facebook Live on SEO, getting found on Google. So let me just share this with more people. So we're just going to wait a few minutes for the audience to build up. If you're joining me now, just pop in the chat box where you're tuning in from and whether or not you can hear me. I'm joining you from Bondi Beach in Sydney, and today we're going to talk about search engine optimization, SEO, for those that are in the know. And I'm going to share with you some of the tips that I've learned over the years and do a little bit of a tutorial as well as some reader questions and some live Q&A. So just as the audience is building, I'm just going to read a few of the people that are joining us. Hi Jasmine. Okay, you can hear us in Marrickville. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going to try and share this to my personal feed and my private group. So just hang about there, drop in the chat box where you're tuning in from, and I'm going to share this to my personal page. It does, when I was testing it earlier, it does have a little bit of a lag time for showing up on my Bluewire page. So that's why I'm just giving it some time now to catch up. So you're in the right spot, live Q&A on SEO. I can see the audience is building there, so welcome along. This is my second Facebook Live. The first one was kind of a bit of a test run. I did that a few weeks ago, and then had the fun of renovations taking place at my studio here. So it's been very, very noisy for the last few weeks. So I haven't done one until today, and today's going to be on search engine optimization. So the audience is building. Hello, we've got lots of reader questions that I'm going to get to today. I'm hoping the Facebook Live shows up on my Bluewire feed so then I can share it to my friends as well. And if you're keen to, feel free to share this with your friends or on your Facebook feed. What we're going to do today is cover search engine optimization. I'll be revealing all, not holding anything back, so whatever you want to know, go ahead and ask it, and I'm also going to teach you some of the basics as to what you can expect. So just pop in the chat box where you're tuning in from. I'm just going to scroll up through there. So I can't quite share it to my personal page yet, but that's okay. We're going to check in there and see if we can do that later on. But today we're going to talk about SEO. Hello Mel, how you doing? So to kick things off, I've got a whole bunch of questions that Bluewire News readers have submitted to me over the weekend, and I've got a bunch of stories and tips that I want to share with you today. So before we get to the reader questions, feel free to show me the love and give me a like or share it on your Facebook page. But I'm here today to not only answer your questions, but to share a little bit about SEO. So it stands for Search Engine Optimization. G'day Nigel from Newcastle, how you doing? And it's been, SEO has been one of those things for our business, for Bluewire Media, that Tobes and I run. It's been one of the most powerful forms of marketing for us. We made a concerted effort a number of years ago to actually optimize certain pages of our website. Now, we didn't go and optimize every single page. That can take a long time. What we did is we focus on what we call the money pages. So the pages that we actually wanted to show up on that first page of Google. So for us, we were trying to get our homepage ranking on Google for the term Web Design Brisbane. Now, this was many years ago when we were a web design agency in Brisbane, and we followed all these tips and techniques that I'm going to share with you today in order to show up number one for that search phrase. Now, of course, that's a highly competitive search phrase because all the techie web people are trying to rank for that. Now, for a period of time, quite a long period of time actually, we were ranking number one for that. Since then, we've moved on to optimize for other keyword phrases. I'm going to share with you some of those today. So let me just try and share this again to my personal page. Sharing to my personal page is kind of the scary part because it gets a lot more visibility on the Facebook newsfeed. But it's not liking it right now, so... Oh no, here we go. I think we're in luck. So just as I share this to my personal page, here we go, I'm just going to share this. I can see all your comments. Thank you. I'm going to pop this onto my personal page and get a whole bunch more people on the live call. It's been shared to my timeline. So hopefully now we're going to get a few more people on the call, not only Bluewire News subscribers who've just clicked the link on my newsletter to join us right now, but also people who are my personal friends. I mean, it's much the same to me. I meet so many people through work and so many friends hit me up for web marketing advice that it's all one and the same. Okay, so the numbers are growing. Just pop in the chat where you're tuning in from and I'll see that in the comments. I've got a bunch of Q&A time as well as answering reader questions. Okay, so to carry on the story, I started researching SEO, and I realized that in essence it wasn't as complicated as a whole lot of people were making out. Like if you Google SEO and you go into some of the forums or blog articles, man, it is so daunting and overwhelming. Hi Sheeny, how are you? From Perth. It can be so overwhelming because there's all this gobbledygook jargon that really makes even quite enthusiastic marketers get pretty overwhelmed. So one of the early things that I did was I bought a book called SEO Secrets by a guy called Glenn Murray. Now he's now become a friend, but I actually implemented only probably 20 or 30% of what was in his book in the early days, and that was enough to sort of catapult us from being invisible on the search engines to being very, very prominent. Hello Tony, how are you doing in Newcastle? I'll be speaking there in March actually, 29th of March at the Future Business Expo. Maybe you can make it along. Yeah, so I did all these things, and before that I kind of just ruled out SEO because I didn't fully understand it, and I kept having this mindset of, well, if word of mouth isn't going to work for us, then I guess I should say we've got SEO, we've got word of mouth working for us. Why do we need search engine optimization? And really that was kind of just a bit of an excuse. Hello Jill. Because I didn't understand it. So I set about learning how to do it properly. And let's now sort of cover off the basics of SEO. We all appreciate how valuable it is to be found on Google, particularly page 1. Not many people really click down to page 2. And it's really important to know that it can be a very substantial source of leads. It can give you very strong visibility on search engines. And these days, when people do a search, they typically think the people that come up first or second or third on Google are the biggest, most reputable, most trustworthy companies to deal with. So there's a whole lot of benefit to understanding how SEO works. So let's kick it off. The first thing that you need to know when it comes to SEO is the fact that Google is looking for two things. Okay, so when somebody types in a search for, I don't know, plumber in Newcastle, then what Google's doing is it's searching the entire internet for websites that have the words plumber Newcastle in it. So in a split second, often less than half a second, Google has searched all the websites on the internet, and it then gives results of all the websites with plumber Newcastle in it. So that's why content is so important. If you're a plumber in Newcastle, Google doesn't know that you're a plumber in Newcastle unless you tell it. Unless you use the words plumber Newcastle on your website, Google can't read your mind. It doesn't know that you exist unless you tell it. So content is really, really important. Now, the second thing to keep in mind is, of all the people that have plumber Newcastle on their website, how does Google know who to rank first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and all the way down to, say, 100,000? Well, there's a number of things that Google actually looks for, and the main thing that it's looking for is your authority. So how authoritative you are relative to the rest of the websites that you're competing with for that phrase, plumber Newcastle. Now, understanding your authority, or your domain authority if we're using SEO, okay, we're back. I hope you're still with me there. Hello Jill, hello Sunil. Now, we just had a slightly weak connection there, so I think the Facebook Live paused for a little bit, but I'm back. Okay, so we're talking about domain authority and how to build that authority. Now, that is the harder part of the equation. So there's, firstly, to recap, there's content, so using the words to describe who you are and what you do on your website. That's the content side of things. Then you've got the authority side of the equation. Now, that's the harder part because it takes time to build authority. Now, the main way to increase Okay, we are back. Now, fingers crossed the connection stays strong enough. I'm doing it through my iPhone, getting some spinning wheels. Brad, yes, sorry, that's my Wi-Fi connection playing up here. I'm live streaming through the phone, and our Aussie broadband isn't quite liking it as much as it would, ideally. So anyway, we're back. If you've got the spinning wheels, then I apologise, but I think I've got you back now. So, moving forward, talking domain authority, the way to increase that is backlinks. And a backlink is a link on somebody else's website that points to you. Now, the thing about this, the reason it's so powerful is that it's a very big and generous gesture for somebody to link from their website to yours. Because essentially what they're doing is they're putting a link on their site that if somebody clicks on, they're leaving their website and going to somebody else's. So why would somebody send traffic away from their own website? Well, the reason is because there's something very useful and relevant to the person using it, to the person who's reading that piece of content on your own blog. So if you've got excellent material, excellent resources, excellent blog content, then that is a very good reason for somebody to link to you. Now, the more backlinks you have from high authority sites, the more authority you are going to build. Because essentially, authority, or that link juice, or that trust, flows from one website to yours via that backlink. So the name of the game isn't to focus on getting lots and lots and lots of backlinks. It matters about the quality of those backlinks. So you're better off focusing on getting a handful of backlinks from high authority sites like news websites or popular blogs, or education sites or government sites, they're the websites that typically have the most authority. But again, you can start small and gradually work your way up the food chain. The thing to avoid here is seeking out poor quality links or setting up your own websites to link back to yourself. That's called link farming, that's bad news, and Google is going to punish you for those types of activities. If it feels like you're manipulating the system or gaming the system, then Google is much smarter than any of us. With its thousands of bright engineers, they are very quickly weeding out the black hat SEO operators. So the way to do this is to focus on high quality, ethical content and backlinking. Now the other thing to keep in mind is that backlinking is probably not, I know that's the lingo that people use, but it's not really the best way of conveying it. I much prefer this expression, relationship building, because that's exactly what's going on. There's a human being, there's a person who runs each of the blogs, all the websites on the internet, and you are a person as well, so there's a relationship there. If that human relationship is strong, if you've got good content that backs it up, then what you're going to have is a natural link to your site because that person likes you and likes the content that you're talking about. So that's the basics. Content that matches up to who you are and what you do, and also what people are searching for, and I'll teach you more about that in a second. But also building your domain authority over time. And let me just say, everyone has a domain authority number, somewhere between 1 and 100. If you started your blog or website today, then you're going to have a domain authority of 1. If you're Facebook or Google, you're going to have a domain authority of 100. The rest of us, we sit somewhere in the middle, but it's a logarithmic scale. So if you have, like, it's 10 times harder to go from 10 to 20, 10 times harder again to go from 20 to 30. So it gets harder and harder as you push your way up the scale. Now, how do you find out what your domain authority is? I thought you'd want to know there is a tool called Open Site Explorer by Moz, and if you type your domain name or your URL into that tool, it's going to tell you your score. It's going to be somewhere between 1 and 100. It's also going to show you the backlinks that you do have, or your inbound links. Backlinks, inbound links means the same. And it's going to tell you who those websites are. It's also going to tell you the domain authority of those respective websites so that you can see who links to you, how much authority they have, and of course remember that authority flows to your site. So the thing that we can be doing is firstly getting better content on your site and also getting more backlinks. Okay, so just type in the chat box if that makes sense, because on a high level that is how SEO works, and it doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. I'm going to share with you a couple of tools shortly. So just chat in the chat box if that is making sense so far. Hopefully no one's got the spinning wheels. My connection seems to be going okay. And I'm getting people's comments in here. Cool, good stuff, Nigel. That's good to know. Okay, I'm just going to look up some of the reader questions. If you do have questions of your own, type them in the chat. But I'm now going to, thanks Nicole, how you doing? I'm now going to answer a couple of questions that Bluewire News subscribers have sent into me. So I guess one question here is, how do I make it work best for my business? Well, look, as I've just explained, they're the two things that Google's looking for: content and authority. So the things that you can be doing is to firstly make sure that each of the pages on your website, actually not each of the pages, just focus on a handful. Focus on the important ones like your homepage and maybe even a page explaining what it is that you do and who you are. For example, when I was trying to optimize for the phrase Web Marketing Brisbane, what I did is in the behind the scenes area of WordPress, so where you actually type in the meta description and the page title. And if this is sounding a bit too foreign, no stress. There is a plugin, a WordPress plugin called Yoast. What it does is for each page that you have on your website, it tells you what is currently in the page title, the page description, the meta tags, etc., etc. So what you want to do is just make sure that you have consistent labeling on the page. So that means your page title matches up with your page description and matches up to your meta tags. And that's behind the scenes. You also want to have the content on the front of the website, on your actual blog or page content, using those words. So back to that example, if you're a plumber in Newcastle, then you want to be using the words plumber and Newcastle on your homepage, in the page title, in the meta description, etc., etc. Hello Selena, how are you? Long time no see. And if you do these things on your page, then that is going to... Hello Amber, nice to see you. I'm following your lead here and doing the Facebook Live, so thanks for your tips. Amber's a friend of mine. Hello Selena. Yeah, so if you're doing those things on your page, then that's making sure that you're providing a consistent, strong signal to Google. So just pick out your home page, maybe your contact page, and use the words that you want to be associated with. Okay? And then go ahead and start building backlinks. But there's a question I'm going to get to soon that talks about backlinks. So we'll pause on that one. But just one final tip on understanding what keywords people are searching for so that you can actually create content on your website that matches up to those searches. Because wouldn't it be cool if you knew what people are searching for related to your business, and then you could actually create a page that matches up to that and answers people's questions? Then you've got a much better chance of putting out content that people want to see. And if you follow the tips of what I'm sharing in this Facebook Live, you're going to be able to get the domain authority to be visible for those search phrases, which people are actually typing into Google. So the tip is to use the tool keywordtool.io. And it's awesome because what you can do is you can type in your words related to your business. And so if you're a plumber in Newcastle, you might type in the word plumber, you might type in the word leaky tap, leaking roof, and what it's going to show you is keyword phrases based around that term. Now what this is doing, it's looking at all the data that Google has based on what people are actually searching for, and it's giving you all the other keyword phrase combinations so that it is basically telling you what words to use on the page. G'day Jono, how's things mate? So keywordtool.io, there's a keyword phrase section and there's a questions section. So what I like to do is go to the questions section, because then Keyword Tool is going to tell you all the questions that people are typing into Google related to that topic. So if you type in, say, leaky tap, it's going to tell you what types of phrases and words people are using relating to a leaky tap, so that when you go ahead and create a page or do a video or whatever, then you can be sure that you're answering those questions and using those words in your meta description, in your page description, etc., etc. Okay, so that was a question that I received. So how to use it best for your business. That's a high-level overview. Now the next question is, how do I create an SEO plan? Okay, great question, and luckily I've got a tool for you for this. So if you're interested, I do have a SEO planning template. What I will do is I'll pop a link to that in the chat, but you can Google it, just Google SEO planning template or Google SEO strategy template in Google. It's going to show up pretty high because I've optimized that page. And in it, it basically takes you through a 3 or 4 step process. The first is using Keyword Tool to identify the phrases that people are typing into Google. The second part of that is then making sure that you use those words on your content and behind the scenes in the meta description. And Yoast is the tool for that. And what you're also going to do, that is the link, Amber, thanks for typing it in. And if you do that, there is an opt-in, so you've got to put your email address in to access it. If you don't want to get my newsletter, but I hope you do, just put a -thank you on the end of that URL. That way you can go straight to the template and just check it out if you want. Otherwise, pop your name in the opt-in box, and you'll also get a whole bunch of free training that I deliver drip-fed over a number of weeks, teaching you all about templates and video lessons just like this. Yep, so once you've got the information in Yoast, then we actually look at how to determine your domain authority using Open Site Explorer, or if you're a bit more pro, using the Moz bar. Now that's a free Chrome plugin. If this is all sounding a bit too much, don't worry, it does take a little while to soak in. If you're out of your depth, just take a breather, don't worry. Watch it again, it's going to make sense fairly soon. But again, SEO does take a little bit to get used to. And if I had a whiteboard, I might be able to draw some of this stuff out to help you as well. Hopefully I'll do that on the next Facebook Live that I do. I've got one coming. But yeah, check out the template and that will show you all of these things. So yeah, work then on building your domain authority by getting backlinks from other people's sites. Okay, so that's how you do your SEO plan. It's worth looking at people that you might be able to get backlinks from. And this is a good segue into one of the next questions, which is, what's the best way to get backlinks if I'm relatively new and unknown? Look, it's exactly the same process whether you're new and relatively unknown or whether you're established and have been around for a long, long time. The process is to identify websites that either you've got a relationship with, so potentially suppliers or clients, or identify websites that have an audience that they serve and that you serve, but typically you're non-competing. So let's look at the first one. If you're a company and you've got a website and you've got customers and suppliers, it's worth reaching out to some of your, say, your suppliers and saying, look, if I write a testimonial for you, would you be interested? And if they say yes, say, okay, if I write your testimonial, would it be okay to put a backlink as part of that? So I might write a testimonial for the plumber in Newcastle saying it was a wonderful job. This person fixed my leaky tap. That's the testimonial. And underneath that you put Adam Franklin, Bluewire Media. Now, most people will let you have the word Bluewire Media, or of course your company name, linking back to your site, and that is a backlink. So first easy low-hanging fruit step to take is to actually reach out to your suppliers and offer to write them a testimonial so that they might publish that on your site. G'day Michael Drysdale, how are you? So the second thing that you can be doing if you're new and relatively unknown, or even if you're established, is to be looking out for blogs and websites that share the type of audience that you serve. So you might discover that there's a whole bunch of business-related websites. If you're an accountant or professional services, then a lot of business owners are going to be better off if they understand a bit more about the knowledge that you've got to share. Which is why posting articles, aka guest blogs, is a powerful content marketing and SEO strategy. So reach out to these bloggers or website owners and say, hi, I'm Adam. I write about these types of topics. I know your audience is made up of XYZ type of people. I've been reading your blog for a while and noticed that you don't have a topic on your blog that addresses this specific thing, and offer to write something on that topic. G'day Damon, long time no see, how you doing? That way what you can do is you can share some useful information and they're going to hopefully publish it on their blog, which has a number of benefits. The first is that you're sharing your knowledge, you're helping the reader learn something new, which is really, really powerful. And if you put a backlink in your author bio, then that is going to count as a backlink back to your website. So do guest blogging for authority blogs. Hey Natalie, how you doing? Or reach out to suppliers and clients and do testimonials for them with backlinks coming to your site. Hello Fred from Frankston as well. Nice to see you all here. So if you've got questions, pop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going through the reader questions that Bluewire News subscribers have submitted to me. And the next question is, what is the best way to upskill and be recognized as an actual SEO or digital marketing expert? Good question, because SEO, like a lot of digital marketing pursuits, it is not necessarily something that is taught at school or university. I guess it is in some respects, and I do teach a few classes at university broadly on digital marketing, but it's very difficult to be seen as, I guess, the accreditation or the credentials of being an SEO from a university is oftentimes not going to be totally up to date compared to following people online and to learning from people who do it all the time. So my advice there is basically, look, consider doing a university course. However, also, and more importantly, I think pick a few people online who teach SEO very well. As I said, the people I've learnt from are Glenn Murray and his book SEO Secrets. I follow Moz, I follow Backlinko, I follow Neil Patel. But a lot of those SEO blogs, they're quite sophisticated and they're quite overwhelming at times, particularly if you're new. So what I'm trying to do on this call, and I'm going to see if people are interested in maybe a more structured webinar, is to break down all that stuff from the complicated blogs that I follow and basically synthesize that and distill it down into stuff that you can do that makes sense and isn't overwhelming, so that you can actually go ahead and make a few tweaks to your website, maybe get a couple of backlinks and create a few pages of content that are going to move the needle and allow you to show up on that first page of Google. And the good thing about digital marketing and being recognized as someone who knows what they're talking about is basically getting results and being able to explain it to people confidently. So one of the things that I found as a digital marketing consultant is that people are less interested in your credentials, as in what degree you've got, but they're more interested in understanding what it is that you're about to do, why it's useful, and results that you've achieved for people in the past. G'day, Nick Major, how you doing? So if you can actually demonstrate that, look, here's a website that I've worked on, it's now ranking on the first page of Google for this search phrase, then people are going to go, okay, you know what you're talking about, so they're much more likely to engage you. Now you've got to remember that SEO does actually take a little bit of time to kick in, so you don't get results, today or tomorrow or next week. It often takes a couple of months, 3 to 6 months. As I was saying earlier in the Facebook Live, when we first tried to optimize for Web Design Brisbane, back when we were a web design agency, it took us about 3 months to get that visibility. So we put all the right keywords on the homepage and the meta description, blah, blah, blah. We started getting backlinks from blogs that we wrote, from clients' websites, from suppliers' websites. And what you'll notice when you make a concerted effort to optimize a page is that your rankings are going to bounce around quite a bit, because Google's noticing that you've got a lot more powerful signals, and it's going to gradually sort of bump you up and down the list before it settles you on a certain position. And once you sort of get that position, it tends to stay the same. So expect to see a bit of variation over 3 to 6 months, hopefully 3. as Google sort of catches up to what you're publishing and the backlinks that you've got. Now, more recently, one of the keyword phrases that we've been focused on is digital marketing template, as well as social media speaker. Now, the reason for that is because for us, we call these our money pages. These are the pages that we know if somebody comes to, then there's a good business benefit to it. So if they come to our website via the search phrase digital marketing template, then what we know from that is that they're looking to download something that's useful to them. The fact that they're using the word template, the fact that they're actively searching for it, means that if we can offer something that suits what they're looking for, there's a high chance they're going to opt in and download it and join our marketing ecosystem. The other keyword phrase, like social media speaker, because a lot of what I do is professional speaking, that's a good keyword phrase to be ranking for, because conference organisers and event organisers search for that phrase, looking for people to put on their agenda for an event. And so again, with those keyword phrases, I've made a proactive effort to optimize by using those words on the page in the meta description and by getting backlinks that point to that page. Okay, folks, if you've got any questions, please drop us a question. But just to recap, if you want to be recognized as an SEO expert, start practicing it, start doing it with clients, and start ranking for those words. Oh, so it paused after professional speaking, says Brad. Thanks, Brad. Look, I'll just recap that point. Because I do professional speaking, the keywords I want to rank for include social media speaker and digital marketing speaker, because conference organisers search for those phrases looking for someone to put on the agenda for their conference. So I've made a concerted effort to optimise for those phrases. I hope it's still working fine and not spinning its little its wheel thing. Now, one of the things that, well, I guess one of the mistakes I made in the early days when it came to content marketing and SEO and writing blog articles is I spent too much time writing for my own blog. Now, you'll remember that I said that the content that you write about is one half of the equation, the other half is domain authority. If you're a brand new website, you're likely to have a very low domain authority. It's going to take time to build that up. So, I did mention, okay, it's frozen for Brad. I'm just going to refresh that just in case it's the same for everybody else. On my phone it says it's still recording, so I don't quite know what's going on there. But let's assume my phone is still recording and it's going to be okay for the replay video. Brad, I hope it does fix up, but if not, it's on the replay. So, back to what I was saying. If you have a low authority site, one of the best ways to rank for a keyword phrase is to... Oh, cool. Sweet for you, Amber. All right, I'll carry on. Must just be Brad's connection or something going on with mine as well. Good stuff, Nigel. All right, I'll carry on. I won't repeat myself all day. Good to know. So yeah, if you want to rank for, say, a more competitive keyword phrase than something that your blog or website has the authority to rank for, a great idea is to blog on somebody else's site. So I've touched on guest blogging earlier as a great way to get backlinks, which it is. The other additional benefit is that if you blog for someone else's site, you can suddenly piggyback off their domain authority and your article can show up on the first page of Google for a keyword phrase that is much more competitive than you could rank for yourself. So, consider blogging for other people's site. One of the analogies that I share in my keynote presentations when it comes to domain authority to really understand it, because once you do, it becomes a whole lot easier to recognize opportunities for you to rank. So basically, as I said, everybody's got a number between 1 and 100, and it's basically on a logarithmic scale. So if you start at 1 it goes up to 100, but it's a bendy curve like that. Now, if we've each got our number, mine's 50, but that doesn't mean that I get half the traffic of Facebook or Google, unfortunately. That would be brilliant. It means I'm sitting on 50. Some people are going to have a blog or domain authority of 70 or 80. Other people, if they're reasonably new, might be down in the 20s. So the thing to keep in mind is that basically, to draw a real life analogy, if you are turning up to a marathon and you've been training and you've got a pair of sneakers, then you are going to have a pretty good chance of being competitive with other people in the race who are in a pair of sneakers and running the race. Now, say a domain authority of 20 is the equivalent of somebody running. Okay? So, if somebody has a domain authority of 40, then that is kind of like the equivalent of somebody having a bicycle. Now, if you're lining up at the start of a marathon and you've got sneakers and your legs and you're up against somebody who's on a bicycle, most of the time the bicycle is going to beat you. They've got a more powerful vehicle for getting ahead. Not all the time, they might be a terrible bike rider and you might be a brilliant runner, but for the most part, the bike is going to beat the runner. So that's the domain authority of 40 equating to somebody on a bike. Now imagine if you got to the start of that race and somebody turned up in a car. That might be the equivalent of a domain authority of 60. Okay, so if somebody turns up in a car and you're on a bike or you're in a pair of shoes, most of the time the car with a domain authority of 60 is going to beat the bike and the runner. So you can see, depending on where you sit on this scale, there are battles or keyword phrases that you're going to be competitive for and some where you're outgunned. So for example, if you're a domain authority of 80, that might be the same as a helicopter. A helicopter is going to beat a car most of the time. So pick your battles, know what your number is, and know the number of the other pages that rank on the first page of Google. If everybody ranking for Plumber Newcastle is say a 70 and you're a 20, it's going to be very difficult to rank for that phrase with your own blog. You may choose to write an article for somebody else's blog with a high domain authority, say in the 70s, and that is much more likely to rank. So, that is my analogy, the runner, the bike, the car and the helicopter, based on the domain authority that you have. I hope that makes sense. Now Brad's still having a couple of issues on his end. I know Nigel and Amber and a lot of other people can see this okay, which is good. So I have covered the questions that I want to in the reader questions from the Bluewire News. And of course this webinar is going, this Facebook Live is going to be obviously recorded by Facebook and it's going to be available in Facebook. So if you're watching the replay of this, as in it doesn't have the live sign up the top, still feel free to pop your question into the comments and I'll reply to those for you. Maybe I'll even use those questions for a Facebook Live that comes in future. So let me just hit you up if you are interested in me either sending you that SEO planning template, or if you're interested in an SEO webinar, like a more structured training program, then just type SEO into the comments. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to instant messenger you, IM you the link to either get the template, or I will give you the details of the webinar when I put it together. If there's enough interest from people on this Facebook Live and from people in our Bluewire News community, then what I propose to do is actually put together a structured SEO training webinar and teach you step by step with screenshots and everything else exactly what to do. So if that appeals, just type the word or the letters SEO into the chat box, and that'll give me an understanding of what what the appetite for more training on this topic is. Okay, so any questions, let me know. I've covered the template, I've covered the things that I want to. Thanks for joining me on the call today. It's been a whole lot of fun, and I will be doing more of these in future. Thanks, Amber, for your inspiration and tips on how to do these Facebook Lives. You've been a great help. And next time, I'll let everybody know. I'll let people know through my Facebook page. I may even house it on my Facebook page first and then share it to my Bluewire page. I'll have to get a few tips on whether that is more likely to get more people on the call or not. So Amber, no doubt you'll be hearing from me about that. But folks, thank you so much. We've covered all the questions, and if you give us a few likes and thumbs up now that we've got to, and if you found it valuable, give us some love, hit the thumbs up for me, let me know what you thought of it. And oh look, my mate Tom has joined me for the last 30 seconds or so. So Tom, how you doing? Give us a bit of love, hit the like, and folks, if you're watching the replay, type SEO into the chat box. I'll send you the template. If you've got questions or suggestions for what you want to hear about next, let me know in the comments, and I will run an SEO or another Facebook Live on whatever topics you want to hear about. So Tom's given it some likes. That's brilliant. Thanks for joining us, folks, and I'll try and run another one of these, hopefully maybe even next Monday or Tuesday, but we'll see how we go. Cheers. Oh, hey Nanette. Okay, just finishing this up.